Hey, it's Joe Barnes from the Screw the System channel, and I'm out here in the lovely October sunshine. Now today's video is a follow-on from the one I made last week about As a Man Thinketh, written by James Allen, and the one I made last year called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, written by Joseph Murphy. I'm going to explore another book which has had a profound impact on my life, and that is Man's Search for Meaning, written by Viktor Frankl. I don't actually have a physical copy of this. I bought it and read it on my Kindle. This book has sold 12 million copies, and it's incredibly powerful because it documents Viktor Frankl's experience in a Nazi concentration camp during the Second World War. The book, or at least the version I've got, is split into three parts. First, you have a foreword by the author Harold Kushner. Second, you have Frankl documenting his experiences in the Nazi concentration camp. And third, you have him discussing and talking about his theory, his psychological theory called logotherapy. Now, the book is excellent throughout, and if you can get the version by Harold, with the foreword by Harold Kushner, then I highly recommend it, because he sort of breaks down and summarizes the book in about 10 or 15 pages, and why it is so powerful, why it's had the impact it's had throughout the world. Now, basically, Frankl's whole philosophy is that man isn't searching for pleasure, as Freud would have us believe. Man isn't searching for power, as Adler would have us believe. In fact, man is searching for meaning. This is the most powerful thing a person can have in their life. And if you can find a meaning for your life, and Frankl is often fond of quoting Nietzsche, he says, if you can find a why, you can bear almost any how. So what he means is basically, if you can find a meaning for your life, you can deal with pretty much any circumstance that comes your way, as is testament by his story of dealing with pretty much the worst circumstances known to man, surviving a Nazi concentration camp. Now, Frankl believes there were three ways to find a meaning for your life. The first is through your work. This can be something you create, a piece of art, a product you create, a business you create, whatever it is, whatever working endeavor that you really love and care about, you can find a meaning for your life through that. The second way to create a meaning for your life was through loving relationships of either your wife, your family, your children, your friends, whatever it might be. And the third route to meaning was through bearing your suffering in dignity. Now, obviously, this is the least pleasant form of finding a meaning for your life, but sometimes people are left with nothing else. They don't have the work they love, they don't have people they love in their life, they're in a terrible situation, terrible circumstances, and all they've got to hold on to, all they've got to find a meaning for themselves is bearing their suffering with dignity. Now, obviously, when Frankl was in the concentration camp, this was the only option available to him. He had to find a way of holding his head up high, of not being crushed, not having his spirit crushed by the terrible conditions he experienced. Now, this was really important to Frankl, and he credits his survival in the Nazi concentration camp to being able to bear his suffering with dignity. Now, he estimated that 1 in 20 people died while they were in the concentration camp. So that was a really low rate of survival. And he claims that the people who did survive, almost universally, all of them were able to attach some kind of meaning to their life. There were two really powerful passages in his book where he talks about getting up early one morning, as they always did have to, and then they were chained and obviously marched off to certain areas where the Nazis had them doing work. They were digging, I think. He was digging at this point. And he recalls as the sunrise came up, he imagined as the sunrise came up that he was seeing his wife. He could see her in and amongst the clouds and the sunrise, and this feeling of love that he got from doing that alleviated all of his suffering in that moment and kept him going. That thought of his wife, of seeing his wife after he'd got out of the concentration camp, gave meaning to what he was experiencing. Also, another point he recalls during the book, when he started to find that he was getting overly thinking too much about day-to-day trivialities of camp life, like cigarettes and tiny morsels of food that they were given. He suddenly said to himself, no, I'm not going to do that. I have to create a bigger vision for my life. And he talks about visualizing, seeing himself giving lectures in front of thousands of people, talking about his psychological theory of logotherapy, and explaining all the tales and the things that happened to him throughout his time in the camp. So these two particular passages are really important, and they explain how you can create a meaning for your life. And as I said earlier, the three roots are work, love, and bearing your suffering with dignity. Now, I've found this to be very true in my own life, in my own circumstances. Now, in no way have I been through any kind of suffering or deprivation that similar to what Frankl experienced. However, throughout my 20s, I was very lonely. I didn't have a whole lot to live for in my early 20s. I wasn't having much fun. I'd only just started out on my quest to try to create the life of my dreams, and I was starting at a very low position, and there wasn't much in my day-to-day reality to keep me happy, to keep me excited, to keep me positive. So one way I found of creating a meaning for my life was to actually score my days out of 10. Each day I would give a rating, and at this point it was typically a 5 or a 6 out of 10. And something that kept me going, something that did create a meaning for my life, was seeing if I could get to the next level. Could I get to, if I was at a 5 out of 10, could I get to a 6 out of 10? If I was at a 6 out of 10, could I get to a 7? So even though, as the scores show, I was pretty miserable or pretty numb, I would say. Numb is probably the best way to describe it. Because I had this motivation, because I had this meaning, could I get to the next level? Could I raise my day ratings up by 1 score? I actually found that I wouldn't call it my suffering, but my boredom was alleviated somewhat by that. It had a meaning. I could get through it because I had something to look forward to. So I found that very powerful, and I definitely agree with Frankl when he says that the main thing that man or humans are searching for is a meaning in their life. Sorry, you can tell that these bugs keep flying into my face and going everywhere. It's unusually hot here for England in October, and it's ladybirds actually, they're out everywhere. So anyway, that's my review of Man's Search for Meaning. I think it's an incredibly powerful book, and if we're talking about my top 3 most powerful books, this is probably it, with the 3 videos I've made so far. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, As a Man Thinketh, and Man's Search for Meaning. And Frankl's theory of logotherapy is that the soul can be cured by finding a meaning for his life, and the last part of his book is dedicated towards that and contains some fascinating examples and psychological cases of people he's dealt with and helped with once he was freed from the Nazi concentration camp. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I might make a couple more on these books. There are probably 1 or 2 more which have been very influential in my life, which I might cover. Let me know if there's any books you want me to speak about that are favorites of yours, and I might read them and do a video as well. And as always, please like, comment, and do subscribe to the channel. Please, if you subscribe, the more subscribers I get, the more videos I will make. So keep watching, and thank you. See you in the next video.